The evidence we have is not just from the US. Interestingly, when we looked at Europe, and we have a paper coming out around this, we found that states or countries in this case that had a mandate for vaccination had higher rates of, for example, measles immunization. However, in line with some of the other evidence, taking away non medical exemptions didn't add any benefit. It did have a backfire overall. The other thing we were able to measure in Europe was the financial penalties, because a lot of these laws don't work through school entry, etc., and a lot of them work through financial penalty. What we found was that with each 500 euro increase in financial penalty, you had zero point 0.8 percentage point, which is substantial at a population level, increase or higher coverage for measles. So that's an interesting nuance. But having said that, that doesn't mean that you make these penalties so high that only the rich can opt out. So there are boundaries for these kinds of policies. So there's emerging evidence from Europe as well. The bottom line is take a moderate Goldilocks approach where you consider mandates as a legitimate option, but also consider them in the context of a broader set of interventions. For example, having a mandate absolutely doesn't absolve governments of their responsibility towards their population, for example, ensuring vaccine safety, having accessible vaccination, having folk investing in primary care. For example, in the UK, yes, there's a lot of discussion on vaccine refusal, but the investment in primary care system have gone down substantially. A primary care system, which was an example, have been starved of resources. Are we then surprised that there is lower uptake of primary care services or preventive services? So while I think mandates are a legitimate policy option, specifically if they're applied with nuance, in moderation, they absolutely put responsibilities on governments to actually ensure that the investments in infrastructure, investments for access, investment for primary care, investments for vaccine communications do not get replaced by just this policy option.